right? And so there's lots of people that I talk to that grew up in similar situations, and we make it mean things about us, about how money is bad or money is evil, and I don't want to be rich because I don't want to be like those evil people. And so then growing up and becoming an entrepreneur and trying to grow your business, a lot of people have like deterrences for money and are avoiding making money. And it's like they're creating this conflict within themselves because on the one hand, they want the money so that they can live their lives and do the things they want to do. But at the same time, it's like they're pushing money away because of their relationship to it and their beliefs around it on a subconscious level.
Welcome back to Out of the Box with Christine. I am your host, Christine Blosdale. I am your expert authority business coach. I help entrepreneurs of all stripes get the attention that they deserve. And it can be through podcasting, through writing a book, through doing TikToks, you name it, anything to do with multimedia. That's my jam. I love helping entrepreneurs get out of their basement and get out into the world where they can make a big difference. So today I'm very excited because the guest that I have on today is similar in that she also helps people, but in her own unique way. And my guest is Scarlett Stanhope. She is an abundance coach and much more than that. We'll get into that in a second. But you know how you come across somebody and you go, oh, I really want to talk to that person, or I really want to get to know or learn more. And the great thing about having a podcast, as Scarlett will know, and the great thing about having a podcast is I get to meet all these amazing people. And so we're going to dive in and find out how she became an abundance coach and what that means for you and your relationship with money. We have a relationship with money. It's sort of a love-hate relationship sometimes. Sometimes it's a steamy romance. And then other times it's a, 7-year itch. After a while, you need a divorce. But we're going to talk about that today. So welcome to Out of the Box with Christine. Scarlett. So happy to have you here.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me. That was one of the most epic intros I've ever had. So I'm really happy to be here.
I'll win the award for best intro. I'll accept it and I'll thank you during the ceremony. So you weren't born and you said, oh, mommy, daddy, I want to become an abundance coach. You had an interesting, and you had a similar background that I had when it comes to relationship to money, where you grew up with your family. Your family didn't have a lot of money. And I know that left you feeling a little off. Same here, girl. Same here. But talk about a little bit about when you were young and your first relationship with the whole idea of money.
Yeah. Honestly, this is a great question. I have to say, I think I really did come out of the womb just like ready to be an abundance coach. But interestingly, so my family didn't have a lot of money growing up. My mom is incredible and raised me and my sibling on her own for pretty much, the first several years of my life. And it was just the three of us. And so she really struggled and was also very young, to get by. But she was very hardworking, driven, determined person. So luckily, I was instilled with those values at a young age. So even though there was this level of, being in a low income level, I did learn some really solid foundational money skills that were definitely a game changer for me. I got to open my first savings account when I was 7 years old, and that savings account from my 7 years old up until my young adulthood is how I funded my business for the first year. But my relationship with money was one where I wanted to work the system. And I was really rooted in, being successful and doing it well and doing it right and making the money. Because growing up, I was a perfectionist, a high achiever. I wanted to do things right. And so when I was in like preschool and after school, like daycare, or like kindergarten, all these other kids would be around playing and hanging out, and I would be doing chores so I could get some candy. I was like, "Hey, I'm here. I might as well get some work done so I can get paid." So I've been working the system since I was very, very young, and in some ways that created, kind of a toxic-ish edge to my relationship with money, but in other ways it also created some foundations for a really healthy money relationship as well.
You sound like me in many ways, where you were there are born entrepreneurs. There are those that kid that is having that lemonade sale. I used to go through all my toys and find the ones that I wasn't really interested in anymore, and I would barter, because the kids didn't have money. They had stuff, and so I would barter. I'd be like, I'll give you what about trading this for that for this, GI Joe doll or something like that. But growing up, well, I grew up poor. Yeah, growing up poor is interesting because yeah, you can see all the stuff that you don't have and feeling like everybody else is doing better, right? But if it depends also on the parents. It depends on how your parents their relationship with money. And for the most part, even though I knew we were poor because of that comparison model, but my mother, luckily, always made me feel that I was like a princess, like we would have nothing in the cupboard, but she would make me feel like I was like royalty, right? And going and getting a bucket of KFC and heading down to the beach was like so extravagant and so fun because she never ever talked about not having money or, you know, stuff that we as parents today maybe don't realize that when we speak it out, your kids are listening, right? How, oh, we're so broke, we can't afford this, all those different things. So it was my mom's way of handling it. And same thing, single mom. And in those days, women did not have the best jobs. Let's put it that way, right? You were a secretary or you worked in a bar or you took care of other kids, you took care of other people's kids. But it's interesting how we're raised, and that entrepreneurial spirit that you had was right from the get-go, right?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I think that relationship with money is like the most important piece as part of the work that I do with myself and with my clients. And like that relationship comes from our parents' relationship and what we grew up learning. Right. And so there's lots of people that I talk to that grew up in similar situations, and we make it mean things about us, about how money is bad or money is evil, and I don't want to be rich because I don't want to be like those evil people. And so then growing up and becoming an entrepreneur and trying to grow your business, a lot of people have like deterrences for money and are avoiding making money, and it's like they're creating this conflict within themselves because on the one hand they want the money so that they can live their lives and do the things they want to do, but at the same time it's like they're pushing money away because of their relationship to it and their beliefs around it on a subconscious level.
And that's one of my favorite subjects. Let's talk about the subconscious beliefs around money and abundance, not just money, because abundance can mean a lot of different things. Having the time to enjoy that money, right?
Mhm.
Abundance in health, abundance in relationships, healthy relationships. But the belief structure, you can talk to somebody who's at 40s, 50, doesn't matter. And you can say to that person, well, your beliefs around your deserving, good health, good money, all those things might be holding you back. And they could say, no, but no, Scarlett, of course I want to have a successful job. Of course I want to have good health. Of course I want all this. And those subconscious beliefs from when they were young, hearing that money is the root of all evil, all those things can have a huge impact on them. Can you talk about when you're working with clients, how do you deal with those subconscious beliefs?
Yeah, and I think this is such a great topic because, especially like you said, we can be conflicting within ourselves, right? That is so common to, on the one hand, like desire all these things, want all these things, but then there is a deeper level of, desire within ourselves or beliefs within ourselves that is creating whatever the current situation is, right? Because I believe that we're all amazing manifestors, and we're manifesting our lives all of the time. And so whatever results you currently have in some way or another are impacted by you and whatever you're creating for yourself. And so the common what I call them is scarcity seeds. The common scarcity seeds that I see with my clients include not enoughness, right? There's not enough to go around. I don't have enough money. There's not enough time. There's not enough resources for me. I'm not good enough, right? So, not enoughness, worthiness, which ties more into that idea of like, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not deserving. Or another one that I see that's very common, especially since I work in the entrepreneurial space and work with coaches, is starving artist syndrome, where there's this idea of either I can be fulfilled and do what I love, but I will be broke at the same time, or I can make tons of money and hate my life and be miserable. And it's like this idea that these two things have to be separate, and that's the only way, right? I'm sure we've all seen it. We have like generations of people that have been at jobs they hate for years and years and years, but it puts food on the table. And I believe that we can have both of these things. And that's been a huge part of the work that I've been doing, is like bridging this gap and building and instilling the belief that we can have both. We can do the work that we love and follow our passions and live lives that we enjoy, and also be financially supported at the same time. It doesn't have to be or, it can be and.
Well, and that flies in the face too of that common belief that I just need to work harder, right?
Mm-hmm.
I need to work more hours. I need to do more of, this XYZ, where I love the idea of working smarter, not harder necessarily, because also we can be hitting that wall when we're supposed to actually be doing. This is what I love, and when I work with clients is they've had so many years working in a job that they loathe, right? Monday morning is the most depressing time of their life. And I love when they have something that they want to work on, when they want to create their own business. I love tapping into that creativity, that there is so much more that they can be doing. And when they start doing something that they're passionate about, it has a whole different energy field. And not to get too woo woo, but energy is really important because people will feel it, they'll smell it, they'll taste it, right? So let's talk about that too, really about how we can empower ourselves so that we present well to the outside world for our business, right? Let's say, but that energy, that the importance of that energy that you work with your clients on.
Yeah, this is such a important topic, because a lot of the coaches that entrepreneurs that I see, they might be doing all of the right things and taking all of the right steps. And it's like, I'm doing all of the marketing, I'm doing all the sales, I'm checking all the boxes, but it's still not working. I'm still not getting money. And I'm like, it's not a business thing, it's a money thing, right? If you're not seeing the money you want, like there's something around your money and your relationship with money that is creating this. And one of the biggest things that I see are these subconscious beliefs around money being bad, especially as an entrepreneur. It takes a lot of confidence and courage to put yourself out there and say, I'm worthy of receiving money for my services and for my existence, right? So you have to genuinely believe that for yourself, about your own self-worth and your own deservingness and your own self-confidence, in order to receive that money. And then another thing that I see for business is the energy of confidence that comes from managing your money, right? Because when you manage your money, you are in control of your life, which creates a certain level of confidence, and that creates that feeling of abundance, and it eliminates a ton of money stress, right? And when you're on sales calls and you're stressed about money and you're like, I really need to land this client, otherwise I'm going to go broke, right? Like the clients can feel that energy, like stressful energy, that neediness, that desperation. They can feel that on the sales call. And then also, when you do manage your money, It steps you into what I call legit business owner energy, because businesses have CFOs. They have accountants. That's the difference between like a hobby and something someone's doing for fun versus a like real legit business. So when you're the CFO of your business, you know what's happening with your numbers. It steps you into legit business owner energy, and your prospects can feel that too. They're like, "Oh, this person knows what they're doing. They're confident, and also my money feels safe with them," right? They're not just floundering about like trying to get this business off the ground. Like they are in control of their business. And all of those things can be felt on a sales call, and they all come down to your relationship with money.
Mm, that's so true. That is so, so true. And also when you were talking about that, again, with that energy, and I work with quite a few people on this issue, is that the whole imposter syndrome, right? So you'd have someone who's super passionate about, you know, being wants to be a life coach, right? Wants to help people overcome obstacles and make their life feel better, all this good stuff. And yet if they have imposter syndrome, no matter how many degrees they have, no matter how many people they've touched, no matter how magical they are, with that imposter syndrome, that is something that is going to stop them not taking opportunities or risks. Also, that energy, those potential clients or customers are going to feel it. They're going to feel that you're an imposter, and so they're not going to be so willing to like fork over that money to you so that you can coach them. And that is probably one of the toughest things when I'm working with people, for people to overcome, because somewhere down the road somebody said something, you won't amount to anything, you're too old, you're too young, you're too this, you're too that, and it really stuck with them, right? So I know some of the stuff that I do to help people with imposter syndrome, and that's a lot of times it's focusing on the audience, right? It's not like because we do a lot of media, so we do video production and podcasts and things. And my thing is, do not focus on you, because you are not the important thing here. The important thing is your audience, your customers, your clients, the people that you're serving. Who are you serving? And focus on their needs, not so much you and how you look or how many degrees you have on the wall. And so that helps. But I was wondering, how do you work with people have that bloody imposter syndrome? What are some things that you do?
Yeah, and this is so important to touch on, especially if you want to be successful in your business. I think your technique of, really focusing on the service is super valuable, because it gets you out of that like get energy and I'm trying to get something from you, and into that give and that serve. And when you're in serve, that's such a huge motivator to be willing to do it messy and do it imperfect, because at least I can help. So I think that energy and that mindset is super powerful and potent. Some of the techniques that I use is going deep into when those beliefs were implanted into our subconscious. And so, those moments that you talked about when somebody said something when you were 5 about how you're never going to amount to anything and you made it mean all these things about you, right? Like those are stories that shape the plot line of our life. And there's a awesome technique that I use. It's called story work, where we go into that moment in time that is creating your current identity, and we clear it out, and we really look at it, and we release some of the energy around it that's dictating how you live. It's dictating what you believe. And we take that belief out, look at it clearly, and say, oh, you know what? This actually isn't true. This actually isn't accurate. And we implant a new belief instead. And then we get to practice instilling and cultivating and collecting evidence around that belief until it becomes true. So it's kind of like affirmations, but like a way deeper level of like affirmations that actually work, and clearing out the gunk that is creating this mindset in the first place.
It's Scarlett. I had just like I'm a bit of an intuitive, but aren't we all? I just had such a powerful hit that you would be amazing, because I'm thinking like, for our young people, for teenagers, teenagers, so that age where you feel you got hormones racing through you, you feel so weird and awful, and you're comparing yourselves to other people. I would love to see somebody like you speaking to young people about their self-worth, right? And also getting them in that mindset of success and abundance. Not so much about, you need to start your own business and all that stuff, because that comes naturally, but really to give them a fighting chance about not feeling so rotten about themselves, and how they can tap into that personal power. You need to write a book. You need to write a book for teenagers, and you need to be speaking to some kids because they really need you. That was the intuitive hit that I got. Now, are you working on something like that?
The book is certainly in progress. It wasn't necessarily teen and kid oriented, but I mean, I agree with your sentiment, because it's like the earlier we start, the better, because this stuff is instilled in our childhood. And let me tell you, I had a rough time in my like late teen, early adulthood. Like I had a whole rock bottom spiral, and granted, I needed to have it for my growth, but also there's a lot of adults that are suffering and struggling really hard to climb out of the holes they're in. And it's because they was implanted when we were kids. So the earlier we start, the bigger difference it makes. And so yes, to kids and teens, but also to any like adults listening, it's like the sooner you start with anything, the better. You only have the present. So why wait another 20 years before you decide to clear up this stuff that's creating who you are and the kind of life that you're living?
Well, you are wise beyond your years, Scarlett. Now I want, because I can hear the collective people in the audience saying, I want to get to know this lady a bit more. How can people find out more about you? They can go to your website, correct?
Yeah, you can go to my website, which is thebizhippie.com. That's my MO, Scarlett the Biz Hippie. You can also find me on Instagram at the Biz Hippie. I am very active on Instagram. So if you want to shoot me a message, I would be happy to chat with you. And also, I love to offer special for my podcast listeners, because I consider myself a podcast nomad. I hop from cast to cast. So here I am. I love to offer what I call an abundance activation session, which is a free 30-minute session with me where we're going to get super clear on where you are now, where you want to go, and exactly how you can get there simply and easily by mastering your money, wielding your power, and making your best life happen. So if you're interested in that, I'm sure the link will be in the show notes, but
Yeah.
I will also say it. It's going to be thebizhippie.com/activate.
I will definitely put that in the show notes, so people, if you're driving or running or whatever, you can just look at the show notes and click that link. It's thebizhippie.com/activate. And that's a great offer. You get to spend, again, time with Scarlett. And I think that's of high value. Scarlett Stanhope, the Biz Hippie. I love that. And I really just appreciate the time that you've spent with me today. I think there's a lot that's going to be coming your way, and I'm just so happy that you decided to come on the show. Thank you so much, Scarlett.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I want to thank you, wonderful listeners and viewers, those of you who are listening on all your favorite podcast apps like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible as well. Welcome. And for those of you who are watching, you can actually share this video, the video version of the podcast, on your social media so that you can inspire some other people with my guest today, Scarlett. It's easy to do. You just hit the share button in YouTube. And if you want to contact me, if you want to reach out to me about a particular subject you want to cover, or guest, or I don't know, anything like that, any other goodies, you can at my website. I've got two that you can go to. It's christineblosdale.com or expertauthoritycoach.com. Both of those will get you to me, and you can drop me a note. All right. Thanks again, Scarlett, and thank you, wonderful people. Until next time, as I always end the shows with this, remember to please think outside that damn box. Bye.